The chain hurt you. The chain is too small, isn't it? I'll get you a larger one.
What's up, Vault Dwellers? Dan here, and tonight we're going to be digging through the bargain bin laboratory where Frankenstein's monster wasn't so much born of science as he was stitched together with leftover film stock and a six-pack of Schlitz. That's right, this isn't the Universal's brooding classic monster. This is the weird side of the slab. The cult comedies, the lucha libre smackdowns, the grindhouse sleaze, and the pure cinematic accidents that somehow earned a cult following. So grab your jumper cables and make sure Igor paid the electric bill, because we're counting down 13 Frankenstein-exploitation and B-movies that prove sometimes lightning, it really does strike twice, usually straight into a VHS tape.
Do you believe me now?
Yes.
Man, I grew up loving this movie. And this one's just a classic comedy horror hybrid. And still one of the best monster mashups like ever put on film. Abbott and Costello just bumble their way into a plot involving Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster. And this thing is just brilliant because of the balance that they use. The Universal monsters, they play it straight throughout the whole film, while Abbott and Costello just bring their slapstick chaos. Bela Lugosi returns as Dracula for the first time since like 1931, giving the kids nightmares while Costello delivers pratfalls. Lou Chaney Jr. brought genuine craziness to the Wolfman, even while trapped in a comedy. Is it silly? Yeah, of course it's silly. But it revitalized Universal's monsters for a new generation and proved horror comedy could work. For cult fans, it's essential viewing. Just the perfect mix of spooky thrills and goofy laughs.
Well, he won't chase us anymore. And another thing, Mr. Chick Young, the next time that I tell you that I saw something when I saw it, you believe me that I saw it. Oh, relax. Now that we've seen the last of Dracula, the Wolfman, and the monster, there's nobody to frighten us anymore.
Santo, la pistola en el suelo.
If you're the kind of person that thought Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein is wild, well, you try and imagine what happens when Mexico's famous luchador enters the ring. In this monster mashup, Santo and the Blue Demon, they take on an entire gallery of creatures, including Dracula, Wolfman, and yes, a bootleg Frankenstein monster who looks like he wandered out of a Halloween clearance aisle. The fights are equal parts awkward and just glorious. There's wrestling holds performed in full monster makeup, while fog machines go full blast. The plot, it's barely there, but that's not the point. This is just pure spectacle. A crossover event that feels like Saturday morning cartoons collided with Universal's monsters. It's ridiculous, and it's padded with endless wrestling sequences. But cult fans adore it, because honestly, who doesn't want to see Frankenstein's monster get body slammed in the square circle?
Yo soy su amo. Les he dado la vida. Obedecerán mis órdenes mentales o de lo contrario, los destruiré.
Stop it! Stop it!
If you thought the Frankenstein monster couldn't get even weirder, well, Spain said, hold my sangria. In Assignment Terror, extraterrestrials decide the best way to conquer Earth is by reviving classic monsters and then sicking them by humanity. The result is a wild Euro horror stew starring Paul Naschy as the Wolfman. Frankenstein's monsters here basically as a towering henchman, stomping around while aliens pull the strings. The costumes are super rubbery, and the sets wobble like they should, and the scripts feel like they came from that alien planet. But the sheer audacity makes this just an amazingly fun cult film. This is like, monster exploitation at its most delirious. You have some science fiction, you have gothic horror, and lucha-inspired fisticuffs all just crammed together. It's super messy, but also one of the most joyful, bonkers Frankenstein appearances outside of pro wrestling. This movie is often better known as the Unearthly, and this cheap horror flick often gets tangled up in the Ed Wood's orbit of schlock. This one features a mad scientist experimenting on unwilling plants, with results that look less like monsters and more like bad papier-mâché projects. The Frankenstein influence, it's obvious. You have your mad science, creepy labs, and shambling creatures. But the execution, it's pure bargain basement. You have wooden acting, stagey sets, and the pacing that feels like it's trying to stall for time until the projector breaks. And yet, this just oozes charm. Like all good cult trash, it has that so bad it's hypnotic quality about it. Watching it feels like sneaking a forbidden midnight broadcast, just knowing you're seeing a cinema at its most broken, but also its most sincere. For bad movie fans, this is like junk food for the brain.
Where are you? Those crazy villagers want to kill you, but we are full of them.
This hospital is run on £125 million of your money every year!
This one, it's not your typical Frankenstein flick, but it earns its spot for the sheer satirical bite. Britannia Hospital skewers British politics, class, and medicine with grotesque dark humor. Inside the hospital, there's a mad doctor who's working on a Frankenstein-esque project, trying to assemble a new superhuman from corpses. The film is so sharp and biting and just unapologetically weird. It's not horror in the traditional sense. It's more dystopian satire with grotesque imagery just straight out of Mary Shelley's nightmares. The Frankenstein elements are symbolic but unmistakable. Cult fans love it for being both smart and shocking. It's messy, it's political, and it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But if you want Frankenstein through the lens of biting black comedy, this is a forgotten gem.
You and I, as respectable officers of the law, are going to walk out of here with dignity. Slowly.
The Carry On series was Britain's answer to lowbrow comedy. And their horror entry, Carry On Screaming, that one brought us a Frankenstein parody just dripping with innuendo. So here we have the monster, and he isn't terrifying. It's a setup for, gags, pratfalls, and some saucy one-liners.
I should do, Socket. If only you weren't so necessary to me.
The film spoofs hammer horror with cobwebby castles, bubbly labs, and sultry femme fatales. But instead of atmosphere, it's all about the comedy. The Frankenstein creation here is more punchline than menace. He's lumbering around like a lost extra from a Halloween parade. Cult fans adore it as one of the stronger entries in the series. It's silly, it's cheeky, and just strangely charming. It's not going to scare you, but it will give you a spooky little chuckle.
What time is it?
Kill him. Kill him!
If you've ever wanted Frankenstein with an extra helping of sleaze, well, Andy Warhol and Paul Morrissey, they delivered just that in the flesh of Frankenstein. Udo Kier plays the Mad Doctor as a deranged aristocrat obsessed with creating the perfect race. So cue some gore, a whole bunch of nudity, and dialogue so bizarre it feels dubbed, even though it isn't.
I watch you.
Up to father's old tricks.
Shut up! You sex maniac! Have you been into the laboratory?
The monster here it's less universal and more exploitation grotesque. It's been stitched together with shocking gore effects that pushed the boundaries in the early 70s. This film even ran in 3D with guts and organs flying at the audience. It's so sick, it's super campy, and it's just totally unforgettable. I mean, the critics hated it, but cult audiences, they embraced it just for its bizarre mix of art house pretension and grindhouse excess. Truly, it's the filthiest Frankenstein ever made. And that's saying something.
Gotta make them put you together. No. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Maybe it'll be all right. It's still your brain. Not really.
Frank Henenlotter, the genius behind the movie Basket Case, he just went full grindhouse parody with Frankenhooker. The premise alone is just cult gold. You have a nerdy scientist's fiancée who is obliterated by a lawnmower accident, so he wants to rebuild her using parts from New York prostitutes. When she's reanimated, she just stomps through Times Square blurting, "Want a date?" before electrocuting her clients. This is Frankenstein filtered through sleaze and satire, just equal parts gross-out comedy and grimy New York horror. The practical effects are just gloriously trashy. You've got exploding heads, stitched-up limbs, and neon lighting that makes the lab look like a strip club. I mean, cult fans, they love this because, the movie just never winks at you. It plays it straight, making the absurdity just that much funnier. Critics dismissed it as trash, as they always do. But VHS junkies knew better. This was a punk rock Frankenstein, flipping Shelley's tragedy into a neon-soaked monster comedy. And it's just iconic midnight movie fodder. You gotta leave it to Toho, the studio that gave us Godzilla, to crank Frankenstein up into kaiju territory. Frankenstein Conquers the World starts with Nazi scientists who are shipping the monster's still beating heart to Japan. After some atomic exposure, because it's Japan, the heart grows into a towering 20-foot Frankenstein who rampages through the countryside. Eventually, he squares off with Baragon, a subterranean kaiju with floppy ears. The movie's bonkers, right? But the miniature effects and rubber suits are just classic Toho charm. Watching Frankenstein wrestle a kaiju, it's the kind of nonsense that makes monster fans just weep with joy. The ending is abrupt and confusing. Cult audiences adore it because it's just a surreal collision of myths. You have Shelley's monster reborn as a kaiju brawler. I mean, we know this isn't high art, right? It's monster wrestling, Japanese style, and it rules.
Frankenstein is finally dead.
He can't die. His heart will live on forever. One day again we will hear of him.
He may be better off now. He couldn't live in this world.
I hear thee. Once so close, I hear. So as I hear, be thee assured, my response is forthcoming.
Jerry Warren was just a legend of schlock. And Frankenstein Island, it's probably his crowning disaster piece. The story follows adventurers who stumble onto an island where Frankenstein's descendants conduct experiments with zombies, some Amazons, and a chained-up monster who barely shows up until the final act. The dialogue is more than wooden, and the editing is super sloppy, and the pacing, we're going to call it torturous. Yet, it's just so strange. You can't look away. Cameron Mitchell wanders around looking like he's there for a paycheck, while John Carradine appears in floating head sequences that feel like they were filmed in someone's garage. Cult fans, I think they love this because it's just one of those, like, how did this even get made films, right? And it's not scary, it's not funny, it's not even coherent, but it's like weirdly hypnotic. This is the Frankenstein myth stitched into something just unholy, and it's just glorious trash.
And now, maximum energy.
All right, I gotta come clean. There's actually no Frankenstein monster in this film, but I think it should be talked about anyway, so it's going into the piece. So instead of a Frankenstein monster, this is actually about a NASA android named Frank who gets disfigured in a rocket crash and then has to fight Martians who are kidnapping women to repopulate their dying planet, right? The filmmaker slapped Frankenstein in the title just to cash in. But hey, that's what you get in cheap sci-fi mayhem shot around Puerto Rico. The monster makeup looks like paper mache, and the alien costumes, they're just dime store capes. And the soundtrack is garage rock that does slap harder than it probably deserves to. This is exploitation at its finest. Cheap and goofy, and just made to trick kids at the drive-in. Cult fans, they love it because it's just pure title bait nonsense. Kinda like most of the videos you see on YouTube today. Watching Frank, the scarred androids, just stomping around, blasting Martians, it's just bad movie heaven. Alright, it's not Frankenstein, but it's fantastically dumb, and sometimes that's enough.
Yes, princess. Focus full force field at 090 degrees, range 700.
You are no longer Hank Tracy. You are evil. Do you understand me? Evil. That is how you will be known.
So back in the 60s, Hollywood was churning out just endless Western horror mashups. But this might be the weirdest one. Outlaw Jesse James, he crosses path with Frankenstein's granddaughter, who is busy using her family experiments to build her own monster. The movie is shot like a TV Western, you know, dusty towns and stagey interiors, and then drops in some lighting effects and pseudoscience dialogue.
Now that I know what is wrong, somehow I will find the right man to withstand the shock of my experiments.
The monster itself looks less terrifying and more like a guy who lost his way onto a Halloween party but forgot his shirt. The pacing, it drags totally, and the performances are super flat, but the novelty of watching a Western outlaw meet Frankenstein's lineage, it's a bit too much fun to ignore. Cult fans, I think they appreciate this just because it's a bizarre genre hybrid. It's another one that's not scary, but it's an oddball relic of the 60s drive-in cinema. Frankenstein Western may sound like a nightmare dream, but in retro vault land, it's pure gold.
Kill. Kill.
You see, when I said we were to return to Transylvania, I referred only to Magenta and myself. I'm sorry, however, if you found my words misleading. But you see, you are to remain here.
I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely love this movie, and every year I go to a show and I throw some toast. But anyways, this is the crown jewel of cult cinema. It's the Rocky Horror Picture Show, inspired by Frankenstein, but filtered through glam rock, some camp, and midnight madness. And this one follows Brad and Janet, who are stumbling to a castle where Dr. Frankenfurter unveils his creation, Rocky, a muscle-bound blonde Frankenstein in golden shorts.
He'll do press-ups and chin-ups, do the smear.
But the monster, it's not the point of this film. It's just the vibe. Tim Curry's Frank steals every inch of this show. He's blending horror parody, queer camp, and rock opera into an explosion of cult glory. The film bombed on release, which blows my mind, but found immortality in midnight screenings where audiences, just like me, but they shout the lines and they turn it into an interactive ritual. Cult fans don't just watch Rocky Horror, they live it. It's part Halloween tradition, part celebration, and part rock and roll Frankenstein remix. This isn't just a movie, it's the greatest cult phenomenon of all time.
I understood you were to be. Watch it! I was only away for a minute, Master.
Well, see if you can find him.
You know, this isn't just gothic horror. It's just cult chaos. Midnight screenings, rubber suits, neon gore, and just a little glam rock fishnet action. These are the Franken films that just kept the drive-ins buzzing and the VHS collectors grinning. So as the thunder cracks and the vault doors close, you try to remember sometimes the weirdest monsters, they're the most unforgettable. And until next time, Vault Dwellers, keep it weird, folks.